So thinking about your career, your family life, and balancing everything, did you have any big missteps, things that you look back and you're like, would have done differently or should have done differently? And
I've screwed up a lot, Chris. I think that's how you learn. You don't learn from doing things right.
I agree.
You know, you when you do things right, you're just like, oh, that worked, you know, and you just keep doing that.
Do you remember any big lessons maybe from any of those?
When you think about the kind of the life side versus career, there's quite a few, but if I was trying to give you a specific, I would say anytime I took something over, every time I got that new job, even if it wasn't a new title. So coming to New England as the regional vice president, that was a new job. But then when I left and went to Maryland or the Mid-Atlantic, where I had Philly, Baltimore, DC, same job title, but new area, right? The investment I made was so heavy into the business that it was almost like I was flying solo. You know, I mean, like I literally
living in an apartment or hotels.
Yeah. Well, I would always go before the family, right? Because they always needed me right away.
Sure.
And so I would go live in an apartment and I'd be there for 3-4 months ahead of the family getting there. Meanwhile, she's got 2 kids at home, got moving companies and realtors and everything else she's dealing with, you know, to get down to me. I'm trying to find a house, which I still don't know how this has worked through the years. I bought every house basically sight unseen by her. She just trusted me to go do it.
Holy smokes.
So she always says I have good taste. So apparently I've done okay.
You figured that out.
But yeah, I mean, those were, if you want to say regrets, I literally couldn't control myself.
Yeah.
Of how much.
Your drive. Like you just need to do that.
Yeah. It's an obsessive compulsive thing.
Right.
Or a manic thing about wanting things a certain way.
Yeah.
I blame my dad. I remember, you know, my brother and I tell the story all the time. You know, I remember sweeping the driveway. Okay. Sweeping the driveway because it had sand in it. And we left like a little pile at the end. Like we just couldn't get it into the dustpan, you know, to get it out of there. And I remember so many occasions where my dad would say, look, if you're going to do it, don't do it half-ass, you know?
Right.
And that little pile of sand to him.
That's half-ass.
Yeah. Right. and so that, I think that just was so ingrained in me that I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm all in, right? I gotta do this the right way. And I prided myself on, it's interesting because you're trading your family for other people.
Right. Which
is really weird when I say it out loud.
Right.
But
we don't take the time to think about it in the moment.
No.
Right. But after, on reflection, you're
but it would be, I always took over the areas where they were struggling.
Yeah.
And I saw how bad the people had it.
Yeah. And you want to fix
how
it.
Distraught they were.
Right.
How upset they were.
Yeah.
How they weren't getting the bonus checks. Right. And they deserved them. They were working just as hard as everybody else in the company.
Yeah.
But they weren't hitting the targets. So they weren't getting the income. And how much I wanted to help them.
Yeah.
And to your point, you never stop and think about it in the moment that I'm like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice my family's well-being to help all these other people
that I've never met.
It's weird, right? Yeah, I mean, like I just got here. I don't even know you. I've known you today,
right.
But now I'm going to help you for the next year of my life to make sure you're successful. And it is weird when you say it out loud, but it was my driving factor. It was never, I can honestly say it was never about, I'm going to do this so I look good. I just truly knew that because here's what I've always known and what's always made me successful. If I can help them be successful, everything will take care of itself for me.
Yeah.
I'll get the promotions I want, the recognition I want, whatever that looks like, right? If I can just help them be successful. And so that's what I've always tried to pour my energy into is like help them be successful. Teach them, it's the thing I love the most.
On the flip side of the, missteps, what about your most proud moments? Like, one of the biggest highlights for you?
Family, work,
mainly in Home Depot.
Yeah.
I'm just specifically.
Yeah.
Home Depot.
So I would say that, again, there's a lot of them, but they all revolve around people. I did some really unique things at Home Depot in terms of like the business. I was the first and only, director of customer service for Home Depot. It was a period of time when all of the external reports said we were terrible. JD Powers and our own internal surveys, they were all really bad.
Wow.
And I remember them coming to me and saying, hey, you've done a nice job in your area. We need you to fix this for the company. And I just thought to myself, me? Like, one guy is going to fix this for the company? And, we created all kinds of programs and different things. And
that's cool.
Yeah. And put those in place and turned it around. What cracks me up is I did that and I felt like this is not what I enjoy. It was great to do. I was proud of it.
Sure.
What I enjoy and what I'm most proud of are things that all revolve around people. The example I gave you earlier of Chris, coming as a store manager out of Boston to, division president in the West Coast. Heather, she's actually the regional vice president here in New England now. She was an AP, asset protection, when I met her. I called her. She tells the story way better than I do, but I called her. She was on vacation. And I said, hey, Monday, I need you to come to the office. She's like, for what? And I was like, I'll tell you when you get there. And she came to the office and I told her I was making her a store manager because I had repeatedly asked her and she said no. So on the Monday, I brought her in and I said, no, now you're a store manager. She's like, you can't do that. I said, I can do whatever I want. I'm in charge. That's the cool part. So I made her a store manager. Nice. Because I knew she would be successful at it. And it's one of the things that when I look through time, those are the moments. I can give you a bunch of them. Yeah. But those are two officers in the company today that, I had a direct impact on. And lots of others that I probably had that have told me I've had an impact on. But it's those moments of those words continue to ring in my head of Joe telling me you're going to do more than I ever did. And how that just changed my trajectory.
Yeah.
And that you have that ability, you have that power as a leader to change trajectories for people when they don't even see it themselves.
Right.
And one of my greatest learnings, especially in the VP years, the difference between males and females. Like, I'm not going to write a book, right? No, there's going to be no, men are from here and women are from there, right? Like, not going to be that. But there is a huge mental difference in business between most males and most females. I don't want to generalize and say all, okay? Most males have 10% of the information they need and believe they're experts.
All right.
And it is that confidence that leads to them getting the jobs.
Yeah.
Most females have 90% of the information and think they're nowhere ready for the job.
Yeah.
They need more time. This is their own internal thinking.
Right.
And one of my proudest things through the final years of my career was how many female associates, whether they were store managers, district managers, whatever, regional team, that I used just simple words of like, you're ready for the next job. You could do this. You've got this skill, that skill, that skill. And just helping them get through that last 10% in their own brain where they're like, yeah, I could do that. they end up holding themselves back because they want to be so prepared.
Yeah.
They're so much more prepared than us as men.
Right.
It was absolutely amazing to me. I don't know why it took me so long to figure it out.
We know the 10%, 90%.
It's the 10% thing, right? But it's incredibly powerful, and I wish more leaders don't focus on. I never focused on diversity stats.
Yeah,
Net was never my thing.
Right.
Look, in corporate America,
do the right thing.
They're going to talk about it, right?
They have to. Right?
They have to, right? And they're going to talk about it, and they're going to measure it. And I always laugh that the best story I can tell about diversity stats. When I was in New England, I hate saying it, but like the vast majority of my team was white. Well, look at New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine.
Yeah.
Right?
Person to population ratios.
Yeah. I was like, here's who I got to choose from, right? There's only so many people. I moved to the Mid-Atlantic, Philly, Baltimore, DC. I have the most diverse team like overnight in the entire company. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you're so amazing at growing. I've got a talent pool to pull from now. Like it's not rocket science, people. But what I was very proud of was finding people with capability and instilling in them that they could do it. And that's how you grow a diverse team, not by trying to meet some metric.
Yeah. So one of the things that we learned in our research with you is you were in charge during the marathon bombings, right?
Yes.
And take us through that time and what that was like.
So I think it's a very interesting time in the country's history.
Right.
More so if you were in the Boston area, being impacted. And
I was living in Boston when that happened.
Right. So. Quite the surprise for everyone when that happened, right? And thankfully, when I say impacted, I mean myself, my family, the people I know, they weren't directly impacted. There were people who were directly impacted, right? And that's far more difficult than anything that I dealt with.
Sure.
But from a business standpoint, there was no playbook. And so I think it just speaks to when you are the leader and you're in charge of anything, there are things that will arise that you've never seen before.
Yeah. What was the first few decisions that you were making at that point? Do you remember?
So I remember, obviously the bombs go off and the chaos ensues and the manhunt begins.
Right.
And with the manhunt, now we're starting to ask ourselves questions because we have stores right in that area. Are these guys going to walk into one of our stores? And of course, at the time, we didn't even know how many people were involved.
Right.
So we're like, okay, is somebody going to walk into a Home Depot, which is a prime target with lots of people, especially in a metro area? And are they going to set off a bomb in there? Are they going to shoot it up? I mean, all these crazy thoughts go through your head. You got to start actually thinking like the crazies. And so our first thought was, how can we secure our buildings? So I violated the fire department and I made them lock down every door and I put a guard at the entrance. So at least now I had eyes on everyone entering, everyone exiting. And, now if they're carrying a backpack, maybe pay a little bit more close attention to that, right?
Yeah. If
it's someone who was armed, I've got an armed person to hopefully stop them, right? Yeah. So I've got some type of deterrent. In classic style, Boston Fire Department gave me lots of grief, and I said, then shut me down. Right. You got bigger problems right now. Right. And they left me alone. So, but I don't blame them. That's their job, right? Get the doors open, be secure so people can get out in a fire. Right. But I was like, this is bigger than a fire right now. Right. So this is what I'm going to do. Right. The only other option was to close the stores. And the thing I learned through a number of years, people need Home Depot. As crazy as it may sound.
Your toilet still breaks,
the water heater still went out. And the contractor who's on a job still needs to get supplies. And, there's so many things that can go. Life still happens. Yeah, great. So that was some of the steps that we took. But I go back to the phone call I got from the division president, and it was the morning, I believe it was a Friday morning, where they had found the Tsarnaev brothers. The older brother had been killed. Now they're on the manhunt for the younger one, and
the whole city's locked down.
The
right?
whole city's locked down. My store that's right there is got all of my associates locked down inside it.
Right.
I'm having to try and this is not in the job description, right? I'm having to try and coordinate with state police, Red Cross. Can you get them food? Can you get them water? Can you get them blankets? Can you get them cots so they can sleep? They couldn't leave the store.
Wow.
There's some iconic pictures when you go back of the state police, when it wasn't just Mass, it was all the different states had come together in our parking lot.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, that's our building. But what you don't know is that those doors are locked and all of our associates are still inside.
Jeez.
The vending machines are empty because that's all they've had to eat. They're trying to get water out of the faucet. It's just crazy, right?
Wow.
But I remember that phone call from the division president, and he said to me, there is no playbook for this, but we trust whatever decision you make. You do whatever you think is right.
Wow. That's
so
heavy.
You talk about empowerment.
Holy smokes.
Right? Talk about empowerment. This is, $100 billion company calling you from Atlanta, which couldn't be further away, right? Than Boston, where all the action's at the moment. Right. And they just tell you, we trust whatever you're going to do.
Wow.
And whatever you need from us, just let us know. And so it was fantastic, because as difficult as a time as it was, the power of that organization to be able to pick up the phone and call Atlanta and say, hey, I need to get in touch with whoever's in charge of this Red Cross operation in Boston.
Right.
And minutes later, they've got you connected on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have 200 people inside of a store that need food and water.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really difficult, because it can appear on the outside by leaving the stores open that your thought is, I don't want to lose sales.
Right.
That was not my thought.
Yeah.
My thought was what we just discussed. There are people who still need us.
Yeah.
And by the way, police, fire, was still coming to the stores, right? They're buying orange cones to set up. They're buying gloves. They're buying, they were buying stuff from the stores that if those stores were closed, they don't have access to those supplies.
Yeah.
So it was really, I questioned myself in those early hours, especially, like,
what's the right
thing? Should I just close these stores?
Yeah.
Would that make everyone safer?
Right.
And it was just really hard to find that balance. What's right for the community? What's right for the associates? What's right for the business? What's right? And to be honest with you, the business wasn't even part. Like, we kind of took the business part and threw it out the window.
Sure.
That's the beauty of being a multi-billion-dollar company. You're like, Home Depot's not going to close tomorrow if I close my stores for the next couple of days.
Right.
Right. A little different than a small business.
Right.
So I always had that luxury to fall back on with the big business. But yeah, those were some definitely interesting days. And like I said, the biggest piece that I walked away with is sometimes there's just not a playbook, and sometimes things are going to happen that you didn't, no matter how much you've game planned or theorized what could happen, you're going to get hit with something that you weren't prepared for. Yeah. And you just got to kind of roll with it.
Yeah. Just work through the problem.
Yeah.
So on that same vein, you were also dealing with the Philly riots. Right?
Yeah, you're bringing up all my good memories,
right?
Huh?
Yeah. So I want to know more about what you had to do during that one.
So that's an interesting one. Obviously, the whole country was on edge with George Floyd,
right?
And the urban centers in particular really flared up, and as people looked for justice in their eyes, and I think what was very interesting to me about that one was I had Baltimore, Philly, and DC. You can't get away with anything in DC. There's too much presence,
right,
for things to go sideways in DC. If things are going sideways in DC, you got issues, right? Because I mean, you've got
Secret Service,
military, local law enforcement. I mean, you've got everybody, right? So DC was okay. What surprised me was Baltimore was okay. And Baltimore was okay. As I talked to our associates, I would always ask, you know, hey, how come everybody's losing their mind in Philly, but we're not losing our mind here? And they said, Freddie Gray. And I said, I don't understand. You have to explain to me. Now, I knew the Freddie Gray incident.
Sure.
But I didn't understand how that played out. And what they would tell me was, when the incident happened with Freddie Gray and Baltimore essentially rioted, they lost a ton of their local business. People just packed up after the shops got burned.
Right.
After, you know, everything was looted and the insurance company didn't cover it or whatever the case may be, many of the businesses just packed up and left. And so what my associates would tell me is, they say, you know what, now I got to get on a bus to go get my groceries. Now I got to find a ride to go buy my kids' school clothes.
Wow.
Right? So there was just kind of this perspective that Baltimore had that protesting is 100% your right, and you should do. You should do. If you feel there's something that you should be taking to the streets to tell government or whoever you don't think is right, that's America. Right. But looting and rioting is not.
Yeah.
And Baltimore had figured that out. Philly had not had that experience. So Philly was following a lot of what you saw around the country. And again, I remember clearly it was only weeks before that I had put armed security guards in multiple stores in Philly by the grace of God, because I was tired of the lack of prosecution in Philly. Philadelphia would not prosecute someone who stole less than $2,000 in a single instance. They would literally write your name on a piece of paper and send you on your way.
Wow.
And
I've heard that before, where like there's stores, Home Depot stores, where you could go in and steal a drill and like no one will stop you. Like that was a thing, right? Like that.
Philadelphia, they would load up a cart and wave at us as they walked out the door. Okay.
And you're not going to train your associates to stop anything like that.
No, corporate America doesn't do that anymore. And so, because what's it gonna do? It's gonna blow up on social media. It's right, and all of that. So they'd rather just lose the money.
Right.
And but I don't blame law enforcement. Law enforcement wouldn't even come because they knew the DA wasn't going to back them and prosecute anyway. So why show up? But every once in a while, you'd have an officer in the parking lot, and they'd grab them, and they would write their name down and say, "Don't do this again." And you could see they'd be back 2 hours later, stealing from you again. So Philly was at a different level in terms of theft and kind of the inmates running the asylum at times. And so but I was kind of tired of what it was doing to my associates' mentality.
Oh, I could imagine.
The business was one thing. Like, I'll be honest with you, I used to tell the company, until you're ready to do something about it, don't ask me to.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to control my shrink number when you don't give me the resources. You don't put pressure on local politicians. There's only so much I can do, right? But I was really concerned about my associates' safety, because while it was really easy, some still took the path of violence. So you might have someone who goes to the register with a cart and then lifts their shirt to show that they've got a gun in their pants. Think about that cashier.
Right.
19 years old, 18 years old.
Not going to get killed for the...
But I mean, the traumatization.
Right.
I'm just trying to wring people out. That's my job.
Yeah.
You know, they're paying me X amount of dollars an hour. And now I've got a guy flashing a gun at me. Right. So associates told me they just didn't feel safe. And that didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
So I went outside the norm of the company and I hired some armed security. Particularly, there was one store in Philly that when the riots happened, that they were coming down the road, and only for the bravery, in my opinion, of the security guard that we had, did we not have any kind of issues. They were working their way down the street. The security guard notified the store manager inside, said, hey, they're coming. I had given them all the okay that if you feel in jeopardy at all, you get everybody out and just close the store and go. Like whatever happens to the store happens. Like if you have time to barricade it, great. If you don't, I don't care. Like you make sure every human asset is accounted for. We have a really great insurance policy. So for all the stuff.
Right.
This guy stood in the, I don't even know if I can tell the story, but I'm gonna. So I don't work there anymore. This guy went to his car. He pulled an AR-15 out of his trunk, slung it over himself, locked and loaded, and walked to the edge of the parking lot and stood there like this.
Holy smokes.
While the store manager got every associate out of the store.
Wow.
And the moment they were clear, they pinged him and he ran to his car and bolted out of there. But it caused just enough pause as they were coming. Like all of a sudden, they all were, paused at the end of the street.
Yeah.
But they were starting to proceed, even with him standing there. But had he not been there, I'm convinced they would have been able to get in that store before we could have got out. And I don't know what that would have turned into.
Sure. Did the store end up getting looted?
Oh, completely. Completely. I was there the next day. It was a disaster.
Geez.
They climbed up the racks to get the stuff out of the overhead, not just the stuff on the shelf.
Right.
It was horrible. But in classic Home Depot fashion, we all came together and very quickly got the store reopened and again for the community. Not people are still trying to do work, and there was so much to repair. I mean, where are you going to go buy your supplies? The Home Depot. So. Yeah, really proud of how they got it back together. But yeah, a lot of damage.
Amazing. Thank you for those stories.
But again, no playbook.
Right.
No playbook. There is now.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. Once you have an incident, it's easy to create a playbook, right? But until something like that happens, you usually don't have a playbook.
So spending 30 years at the same company, did you have any thoughts of leaving? Was there ever a point of like someone dropped a carrot in front of you or like?
Man, that's funny. Nobody asked me that question. That's a really good question.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes. I did think about leaving. And so this goes back to leadership. So there was an era in Home Depot where we made the transition from our founders as chairman and CEOs to the first, we'll call him outsider CEO that we took on as a company. And that was Bob Nardelli. Bob was a GE guy and he brought that whole GE mentality with him. And what I like to say is Bob brought everything the company needed, but he did not acknowledge the culture in trying to implement it.
Yeah.
And
just bulldogged his way.
Yeah, very much so. Right. Almost oblivious to the culture. Right. The follow-up I would give you that is the CEO who followed him was Frank Blake, one of the most amazing people that I know. And Frank implemented a lot of things that Bob was trying to get done. But he did it in such a respectful way to the culture that everybody understood it and everybody was able to move with it.
Okay.
But Bob knew, so I think I talked about it a little bit earlier, we had regions that were buying their own goods and, we had to centralize and we had to become more efficient, more streamlined. And we needed to. That was the right move for the organization. But Bob did it, like I said, without respect for the culture. And so he got a lot of pushback.
Sure.
And because of the bulldogging and just pushing it through, it turned off so many veterans, including myself. Even though I understood mentally
the business case. Sure.
Emotionally, you didn't like what was going on.
Didn't feel good.
Right. So there was a point, I remember it very clearly. I was a district manager, and I was in Minnesota. We talked about some of this earlier. They were looking to promote me to VP, but I had to go to Atlanta to work in the corporate office and get everybody to kind of know who I was, be comfortable with me. I make the transition to Atlanta. I was there 2 weeks. I've never been a corporate guy. I was a corporate guy for 30 years, but I've never been a corporate guy.
Not at the main office corporate guy.
No. I was like, is this the same company? Did I change jobs like company wise and I didn't know it? I remember leaving a meeting at the end of the day, getting in my car, driving home, and having tears in my eyes.
Right.
And thinking to myself, what have I done? Because I was so out of my element. They were writing formulas on the board, Chris. I couldn't tell you what they mean to this day.
Right.
I thought they were building rockets.
Yeah.
I was like, we sell hammers. Why are we building rockets? We're not Elon Musk. What are we doing? So I legitimately left going, I am so far over my head. I moved my family here. I'm going to get fired in this job because I don't understand a damn thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was terrifying. And I'll answer your question by saying I had someone who reached out to me about that same time. And it was a weird job. Like, I don't even remember. It was something about like selling siding or something, you know?
Sure.
And I was just like, oh, that sounds interesting, because I was in such a bad mental space, right? It's like, here I am.
Luckily, it's a shitty job offer.
Right? Here I am on this path trying to become a VP, and like, do you want to sell siding? Yes, I want to sell siding, right? You know?
Have you ever thought about selling life insurance?
Right? Oh man. And it was, but I entertained it.
Right.
I entertained it. And thankfully, I came to my senses.
Right.
And what I had to tell myself, because in my head, I was the dumbest person in the room. And it took me a little bit. And I remember sitting down and thinking to myself, nope, that's incorrect. I am the smartest person in the room. I am the only one in the room that knows how our stores actually work.
Right. You can see the problems. They have no idea.
And I was like, if I'm going to get fired, I'm going out in a blaze of glory.
Nice.
And so I would be in these meetings and they'd put all this stuff on the board. And we're going to roll this out and we're going to do this in the stores. And I would raise my hand and I'd say, that's not going to work in the stores. Well, we've done this study and measured this and that, and that's not going to work in the stores.
Yeah.
And then it would start to get a little bit more combative. And eventually I'd say, okay, let's do this the democratic way. Let's take a vote. But here's the thing. Your vote only counts if you've actually worked in a store. And I was the only damn one in the room who had ever worked in a store. Now, it didn't work all the time, but what happened was I very quickly got the division presidents on my side because they knew I was trying to defend the stores.
Yeah.
I used to get asked all the time from, people that were still working in the stores, what was your greatest accomplishment in Atlanta? And I had a bunch of cool things that I rolled out and we did as an organization that we still do today as an organization that I can point to and go, that's me.
That's cool.
But the greatest accomplishment was all the stuff I stopped.
Wow.
Without a doubt, all the things that I didn't let them roll out because it would have impacted the stores or the customers in a negative way. And it looked great on a spreadsheet.
Right.
But if you came from the stores, you knew it wasn't going to work.
That's cool that you stayed there long enough to see the legacy like last, right?
Oh yeah.
And be able to point back to all those things and still be able to go into a store today and like know that you implemented or impacted that.
Well, it's funny, cool. Man. It's even, you know, and I'm not trying to take credit for this, so don't sure. Read it this way, right?
You're still a cog in a big wheel.
Yeah, right. Without a doubt, you know, but I remember, you know, Marvin, who's now running Lowe's, and we were sitting on a plane one day, and his background, he came from Target and kind of that kind of side of retail when he came to Home Depot. So he didn't know a whole lot about home improvement. He relied on myself and a couple other guys to kind of learn the home improvement side of the business. We relied on him for his mentorship. It was a great symbiotic thing. And I remember sitting on a plane with him one day. It was myself and my buddy Pete, and he respected both of our opinions. And he said, you know, you two were successful at whatever you've done here. Give me, like, if you could put it in 3 bullets, what is it? I was like, this business is simple, man. We make it way too hard. In stock, store appearance, customer service. That's it. That was his whole thing. He became like one of our most successful division presidents, running with in-stock, store appearance, and customer service. Then he becomes the CEO of Lowe's. Guess what they focused on?
Yeah.
In-stock, store appearance, and customer service, right? So it's like simplicity wins.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely a guy who lives by the rule of 3. You know, I can't remember more than 3 things, I guess is why I do it. But no, I find people can really attach themselves to like these 3 priorities, right, or, you know, 3 takeaways, whatever it is.
Right.
But yeah, it was really cool to get his mentorship, be able to give him some stuff, and just see how that impacts the whole company. Like you said, you know, kind of this legacy piece that you leave. You know, total side note, I'm going to Vegas in March next year because that's when Home Depot's annual manager meeting is. And that came about simply because this past March, I had so many phone calls. Now remind you, I've been gone 3 years. Phone calls, texts, FaceTimes from the floor of the meeting. Man, we just had dinner and we were all talking about you. Man, we were just walking this.
That's
and
so cool.
We were all talking about you. And having worked in so many states, the only way I can go see everybody is I gotta go see them while they're all in one place. And so I told them all, I said, I'm coming to Vegas next year. And I said, the beauty is I don't have to get up for the meetings in the morning, right, but you do. So
we'll see you at 5:00.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to go out and connecting with a bunch of people that I know.
That's amazing. I think you hit this, but I wanted to make sure I understand. So you retired mainly because your dad passed away early, and you realized that you kind of achieved most of the big things that you wanted to achieve. That was the catalyst for you to finally step away.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'd go with my wife and my financial planner.
Right.
So,
yep. Give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, my wife said to me in the final year, and it was tough because you're talking about this is 2021 now, so just haven't gone through COVID.
Right.
And essentially the company asked me, hey, can you go to the Mid-Atlantic, and it's a terrible performing region, and help them? And I love that. I made a whole career out of it. So I'm absolutely off I go, right? Pour my heart and soul into it, get us turned around. We're on a nice upswing, and COVID hits. The problem with humans is we go back to what we know the most, yeah, right? And so all of a sudden the company becomes very hands off because my district managers can't be in the stores. I can't be in the stores. So now the stores are kind of left to their own. Well, they only know Paul, we'll call it Paul's way for, just ease of description, for like 6 months, 9 months. They know the other way for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And so they go right back to the other way. And so as COVID started to wind down, and I was able to get back into the stores, and my DMs were able to get back into the stores, and we were able to start to be in person, drive things, I was literally starting all over again.
Ugh.
And it's going to sound like a cop-out. I was just too tired at that point.
Right.
After 30 years of doing it, I was in for the one last ride, right? Yeah. I was like, I'll go do this one more time and kill myself and for love of company, right? And I really was all in. I didn't have the energy to go do it twice in the same place.
Right.
And it started to show.
Nice.
Most of all, when my wife picked up on it. I could put the good face on at work.
Sure.
But my wife picked up on it. And she said to me, I don't think you're having fun anymore. And I think it's something when you can say, hey, for 29 and a half years out of a 30-year career, you had a lot of fun.
That's pretty good.
It had its ups and downs, but generally I enjoyed every minute of my career. Not to say there weren't tough spots, right?
It has to be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
But it was genuinely enjoyable. And I just wasn't having the fun anymore. And then we were doing every year, I talk to my financial planner every few months. And at the end of the year, he always makes my wife get on the call. Nice. She hates it. She hates the whole financial planning thing. But he makes her get on the call just so she knows where everything is and what's going on, right?
Yeah. No secrets.
And so we go through the whole call, and I'm like, yep, okay, we're good. And he's like, yep, we're good. And he goes, I got one last question for you. I said, okay. Why do you go to work every day? What do you mean? Now, he manages a lot of Home Depot people, executives. He manages some of the stock funds and things like that. So he knows Home Depot very well. I said, oh, I like, impacting people and,
the corporate response real well.
But the truth is, I like impacting the people, and I liked, some of those legacy things, right? That you can see my thumbprint on the business, right? And he goes, okay. He goes, but what about A, B, C, D? He starts going through this whole list of things that he knows I hate, right? He knows all of us hate. And I was like, well, I don't love those things. He says, okay. He said, I just want you to realize I got one last slide in here that I didn't send to you. And he puts it up on the screen. He says, this is what I can pay you every year without ever touching the base from now until you die. He goes, and I'd be dying at 95. So he goes, and at that point, your base will be twice as big as it is today. And
just the dividends off your investments.
Dividends, interest, right? All that. And I was like, that's not right. He goes, no, I'm pretty good at what I do. That's right. And so it was this combination of knowing that I had, now, granted, wasn't what I was making salary-wise.
But you don't have to spend all that time pursuing the money.
So it was one of those where financially, all of a sudden you realize, oh, I could do this. Secondarily, you have your wife who realizes you're not enjoying. Deep down, I knew I wasn't enjoying it the way I was too. You just don't want to admit it.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And yeah, I'm in the 10%. Right?
Still having the 9, you're like 88% hate it. You're still not quite.
So she's telling me, hey, I think it might be time, right? He's telling me financially you can do it. And then I'll never, ever forget it. And it's funny, I reminded him of this like 2 months ago. We were texting back and forth. He said, I'm going to tell you a story. Because there's two kinds of people that are in your position. He said, the first continues to work the big corporate job, continues to make a ton of money, that, by the way, you'll never spend.
Right.
And it's because, quite honestly, they don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And they're not particularly happy. He says, then there's a second group. And the second group takes this opportunity that you've created for yourself. Usually they go start a business. He goes, you already did that 5 years ago, so you're 5 years ahead of the game.
Right.
He's like, usually they start a business. He goes, I don't need you to make any money at it. Just break even.
Right.
Don't lose money. That's what he told me. He goes, but do something you're passionate about. Again, you've already done that. Go do that. I can tell you which group 5 years later, after that moment in time, is happier.
Yeah.
And that just stuck with me.
That's cool.
When I hung up the phone with him.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, the wife says it's time. The financials say it's time. He makes a really good point.
Kind of feels right.
And I got to tell you, I remember calling my boss to tell her that I was going to be retiring from the Home Depot. I cried like a baby.
Yeah. It's a hard.
I couldn't get I'm doing that stuff. I'm like, what? Stop. Be a guy.
I wasn't ready. Didn't realize.
I didn't mean it. No. I want to stay, right? I was like, what is happening? But you are so vested. I mean, I was Home Depot.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when you're all in, you're all in.
It's hard to change your blood color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, 3 years later, I miss the people.
Yeah.
That's about where it ends.
Right. The long list of other things.
All that other stuff.
Don't miss it.
No. And I control all of it now because we do run our own business, right? And it's like, hey, you know what? This is what we want to do. I don't have to argue with people about it. I don't have to build a big giant business case. We're just like, no, we really believe that's the right thing to go do. Let's go do it. Yeah. But I miss the people, which is what I was always attached to. And that's why I stay in touch with a lot of them still.
That's a perfect segue, actually. So, you had an amazing experience and career, and that's not it, right? You thought about leverage. One of the things, you invested in real estate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You owned like a whole city block at one point, I heard, or something.
I might have a street.
Yeah. So like smart, finding good opportunities. Was that through your financial planner, or how did you decide real estate?
So for me, it was something that I've just always personally believed in. When you talk to people about finance, a lot of times you'll hear stocks, bonds, cash, right? And they consider that three avenues of wealth or income or whatever you want to call it. I've always believed that's one. I'm a firm believer that stocks, bonds, and cash, that's one bucket. I believe that you should have three to really insulate yourself and protect yourself over the long haul. That over time, there will be ups and downs in everything.
Yeah.
There'll be ups and downs in the stock market. There'll be ups and downs in real estate. But over time, usually one of them at any given time is doing well enough to generate you cash flow to get you by, right? Yeah. So my belief has always been stocks, bonds, and cash is one. Real estate in some form, because if you look at anyone who has probably ever made a lot of money in this country, there was a portion that real estate was involved.
Right.
And then the third one was have a business. Either invest in a business or be the owner of the business or whatever that looks like. And so going back to, we talked earlier about, saving money and everything else. Well, there was a stint there where I just had a lot of free cash.
Right.
And I was like, if I leave this hanging around, I'm probably going to buy more boats. So I've got to do something with it.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to get into something with real estate. And I met an individual and we started talking and he connected me with another individual. And next thing I know, I was buying all these foreclosed tax sale homes. By the way, places that you would be more apt to just throw a match into than rehab.
Sure.
But they were dirt cheap. They didn't cost me anything. You're buying a house for $3,000.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy, right? And but it looked like it was worth $2. Yeah. So, I'm just
the demolition's going to cost more.
Just so we're clear, yeah.
Right.
But
probably not the nicest place.
But what we did was you try and strategically pick them. However, in tax sale, usually they're bundled. And the reason they do that is they're going to give you some ones that you are just going to write off because they are terrible.
They got to get rid of them.
You're trying to get a few select ones, right? And so I did that over a period of a few years, and we rehabbed them and we turned them into rentals, and that's been a nice little business model. What I've always done is just kind of reinvest back into them the whole time that I didn't need the income, right? Because my mentality was, why would I keep pulling money out when I don't need the money?
Right.
I'm working, this is at Home Depot still. I've got all this. I don't need that. So let's upgrade the furnaces so that they don't break when I retire and I have to repair them then. let's fix the roofs, let's insulate windows, whatever it is. And we did all that over the years. And then actually with the recent uptick in, real estate, we picked kind of our worst performing rentals, and we're like, why don't we just sell them?
Right.
And we sold them off for cash.
Nice.
Which is just, a nice thing after they've appreciated the way they have. So did that. And then the third leg is the business. And it's a very long story.
We're going to get into it.
On Ridgeline. But for now, I'll just suffice to say that, got involved with Alex in 2015 and we started this Ridgeline concept. And it is critical to my mental health to have it.
Right.
And I mentioned a great CEO we had, Frank Blake. And I remember Frank, when our stock price really shot up, he was addressing the officer group one day in the auditorium, and he wrapped up his whole business conversation by saying, I know many of you could retire right now if you wanted to. And that's great. If that's what you want to go do, please go do it. I wish you the best. But know this, you better have something to go do. Because you're all A personalities who go 100 miles an hour all the time. And golf and fishing will not suffice.
Right.
And so it is so true. I love to golf. I love to fish. I do it way more than I did when I was in corporate America. I don't do it anywhere near as much as I would like to.
Sure.
Because I still need to go 100 miles an hour at times.
Right. So let's talk about that. So you and I met because of Ridgeline.
Yep.
So for a little bit of backstory, when I bought the rally school from Tim, the guy who Tim bought all the land from for the rally school used all of that money to build a small shooting range because he was into guns, and it was a Western 6-gun shooter society called Dalton Gang.
Yeah.
He was 80 years old, and him and I had started to have a relationship because of Tim and I, and he was wanting to get out of the range. And I had a friend who was in military and other type of training, and I was trying to get him to buy it because I wanted to at least know who controlled the shooting range next to the driving school that I was just buying. And he ended up not being able to buy it last second. And I worked out a deal to buy the shooting range. And I like guns. I like being around them. But I was the least qualified gun range owner that was trying to figure out how to run a shooting range.
Well,
right?
I think, look, you're an incredible businessman because you had your customers were telling you, right?
Yeah.
Your customers are like your military and law enforcement customers were saying, hey, we want to shoot and we want to drive.
Right.
And your response was, we drive cars, man. Like,
Right.
we don't shoot guns.
I got to figure out how to get the shooting thing figured out, though. But our employee Wyatt was really wanted to get involved in the long range shooting stuff. So we started a precision rifle series match at the school. And that's how we met Ridgeline, Alex, and Rudy, because the match director ended up not being able to come up one year. I think it was 2018.
Yes.
And we're the week of the event trying to figure out who's going to run this match for us. And Alex raised his hand, and so that started the relationship of us. First off, Ridgeline rented the range from me, and I'm the type of business guy, if I'm in the way more than I'm helping, I'm going to get out of the way. So I just ended up selling you guys the range because so then you guys could know and have the confidence to invest in the property, and it would be yours rather than mine. So eventually you and I met because you should tell your side of the story. So Ridgeline had a long path to that point, right?
There's a long path to that point. So
where did you meet Alex originally? And we keep saying Alex. So Alex Hartman, the founder CEO,
of Ridgeline Defense. And it is a long story. I'll try and give you the short version, or we'll eat up too much video and audio here. But it was 2014, and I was living in Massachusetts. I was still a regional vice president for all of New England. Love the shooting sports. My wife and I are both certified firearms instructors, which means nothing. It means we went to a class and they gave us a piece of paper. Sure. But we were certified in Massachusetts, state police, everything else. Had signed off on everything. we did a lot of work with an organization there called GOAL, Gun Owners Action League. And, it's a great organization. They fight for gun rights in Massachusetts, which is pretty tyrannical about their gun point of view on guns. So with my background and my wife's personality, not mine, they would invite us to a lot of really great events that they have with senators, congressmen. They knew I could speak the language, but I could also speak the gun language, right? So I had kind of the blend of both to be able to interact and interface with these folks. So got to know their director of training really well. There's a guy by the name of John Green, great American. So John, I asked one day, I said, hey, if you ever get anything, because they would bring in these adjunct instructors to teach different things. So if you ever get anything for long range shooting, I'd love to know ahead of time. I want to get signed up because it's just not something I've ever really done. You grow up in this part of the country, you shoot 100 yards is about the farthest you ever shoot.
Right.
You get real lucky, you might find a 200-yard range, right? So I wanted to know, how do I get to 1,000? How do I get out to a mile? Like what does that look like?
Right.
So he says, hey, I might have something coming up in the coming weeks. I'll let you know. So it's a couple weeks later, I get an email from John. It says, here, hit this link, sign up for the class. Okay. So I'm reading the course description, long range, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this is exactly what I'm looking at. And then it says, long range precision rifle 3. I'm like, well, what about 1 and 2? So I called John. I said, John, this is the third class. He goes, yeah, we went to 1 and 2. I go, I didn't. He goes, oh, you'll be fine. I go, John, as an instructor, I know what it's like to have that guy in your class. Like, I didn't come to 1 and 2, but I'm ready for 3, right? So I was like, he goes, well, call the guy. Here's his phone number. The guy is Alex.
Nice.
So I call Alex and I said, hey, my name's Paul, and I talked to John. I want to come to this class, but I don't want to hold up your class. I said, I see this is Precision Rifle 3. I haven't been to 1 and 2. He goes, well, tell me a little bit about your shooting experience. So I tell him my background. He goes, I think we can probably work with you. And we're going through, and he says, what else do you know about precision? So I start telling him all this stuff. Well, the last thing I tell him about precision is there's a book by a guy named Brian Litz. It's called Applied Ballistics. It is nothing but formulas, charts, and everything about precision shooting from one of the people that's viewed as an expert.
Yeah.
No one reads the whole book because it's mind-numbing.
Right.
I said, well, I just finished reading Applied Ballistics. And he goes, whoa, hold on, stop. You read Applied Ballistics. And I said, yeah. He goes, you'll be fine. Come to the class. So I signed up for the class, and he said, look, he goes, I'll give you the early part of the class. He's like, I'll just stick by you and kind of make sure you're good, and then we'll roll right in. That's exactly what he did. He was like right by my side the whole early part of the class, and we shot and had a great time. Well, we were up in Maine doing this course. We finished day 1, and one of the guys in our class, his name is Jerome, and Jerome's from there. He lives right down the road. He's actually a trick shotgun shooter. Okay, Team Zespi is what Jerome runs up there, and they put on a heck of a show. So Jerome says to us, "Hey, you guys." What are you doing tonight? And we're like, we're going to go to the hotel. We're going to go get dinner because we're all from different parts. And he says, no, go down to the store here, buy steaks, buy whatever sides you want, come to my house. Okay. So we all go down to the store, we buy steaks, we buy food, we go down to Jerome's house. We're cooking, we're having a good time. Jerome comes out, he's got his shotgun, he's got a big case of clay targets, he's got charcoal briquettes, golf balls. He's teaching us how to shoot multiple targets in the air and golf balls out of the air and charcoal briquettes out of it. It was crazy. But during all this, at some point, I sit down at the picnic table when it's not my turn to be doing stupid things with shotguns. And Alex is sitting there. And we start talking. And he goes, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I'm asking him about him and his military career and background and everything. And I said, yeah, and somehow we got on the conversation of retirement. And I said, I enjoy what I'm doing teaching pistol in Massachusetts. So I really think I want to buy just a small piece of land, carve out a 20-yard range, and I'll teach pistol classes with my wife on the weekend, like all cash business, right? And it'll be kind of my retirement gig. And I'll never forget it because he just looked at me in the way, if you know Alex, that he looks at you. And he said, yeah, I got a little different plan. And I was like, just tell me about it. So he started laying out this whole plan. By the way, it is not at all what we are doing today.
Right.
Totally different plan. It was for what at the time we were going to call the Ridgeline Marksmanship Park. And the concept of the Marksmanship Park was to build essentially what we built here at Ridgeline today, but to make it like a gym membership,
right.
Just like a regular gun range.
Yeah.
You pay an annual membership, you get to come, you can shoot from all these crazy positions that nobody else allows you to shoot from, at targets and distances that nobody else allows you to shoot at in New England. It was a really great business model. The challenge with the model, you have to be near a population base.
Right.
Try and open a gun range near a population base.
You did. You tried.
we did. And so that's where the story really begins is Alex and I kind of batted that idea around. I was driving home from the main shooting event. I was like, that's a really neat idea that guy has. Let me check in with him more. And I called him. He sent me business plans. We went back and forth for a few months. And we got to a place and I said, okay, this is how much it's going to take. This is what we want to do. This is what it generates, right? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, how many investors do you have? And I think at the time he had like 6. And I was like, oh, okay. How much are they in for? He goes, well, that's the problem. Everybody's in for like 5,000, 10,000. And I said, oh, then that makes this real easy. I said, tell them to all go away.
Right.
I said, it's me and you. Let's go do this.
Nice.
And I'll never forget his face. I can picture it in my head right now.
He never would have expected that.
His jaw was, it's hard to make Alex speechless, all right? His jaw was on the ground. Like, what? What did you just say? I said, let's go do this, me and you. I'll fund the whole thing. Let's go. And so we were off and running. And so the first iteration was to get the Marksmanship Park up and running. And we found a property in Winchester, New Hampshire, which I wish nothing but bad things upon. Yeah. I hate saying that, but man, it is tough when it's hard, because I would tell you that in all honesty, the majority of people that would talk to you privately would tell you they were really excited about us bringing a range there. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was all privately. The public outcry comes from the minority. Right. And, we went through all the different meetings and select board and all of that, had experts on sound and lead mitigation, and everything, and spent a lot of money to lay out our plan to buy this property, and the property was under contract. Right before we heard we were going to get our approvals, the property was sold out from underneath us. Ended in a legal fight that I can't discuss. Sure. But nobody walks away from a legal fight in good shape. Happy. Yeah. And so we pivoted. At the time, it was one of those where we had a lot of things in motion. We knew we were about to gain approval. So we had our FFL, we had our SOT, so from the legal side, things were moving. We had started to establish vendor relationships and had done buy-ins. So I had, different vendors where I had $15,000, $20,000 worth of product on the road coming to us. And all of a sudden, we don't even have a place. So when we pivoted, we came to Nashua, New Hampshire, rented a small little shop.
Just to put all the stuff.
Put a little counter in there, put everything on the wall, and called it a store, right? And it gave us a location. It allowed us to maintain our Rolodex. It allowed us to maintain our vendor relationships, all of these things. And we essentially went mobile. It was Alex and Rudy that would go to some lousy range and teach people, just so we had income, right? We looked everywhere, Chris. We looked all over. We so desperately wanted to bring this to New England, because it would be so unique here. Right. But eventually we started looking into Carolinas. We talked about Texas. I remember talking about Texas and going, yeah, but can't you just go out in your backyard in Texas and shoot 1,000 yards? I don't think we'd be anything special, right? So we looked all over. We checked a bunch of different properties. There was always something that was a hindrance. And quite candidly, we were on the verge of this isn't going to happen.
Wrap it up. Yeah.
And I remember distinctly saying, you know, the only way you can possibly get this done the way we want to do it is you got to buy a range.
Yeah.
But who sells a range?
Right.
No one. That was my exact conversation with him.
Right.
So then it's 2018. You know, Alex gets looped in with you guys. I think at one point you're like, hey man, do you want to come be like the director of firearms training up here?
Yeah.
He gets in the car to drive home, which for those who don't know is a 3-hour drive from here for him.
Right.
And him and I were on the phone the entire time. He says, I got this opportunity. What do you think? And he goes, but I got a different thought, but I want to hear yours. And we went back and forth. I go, I know what you're getting at. You want to buy this range from him, don't you? And he goes, yeah. And I go, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's how it goes from disaster,
Right.
you know, to, hey, let's buy a range. And, you know, I sincerely here publicly want to say thank you, Chris Sear, because Ridgeline would not be a thing without you.
No.
And it means the world to us that you gave us that opportunity. And, you know, our commitment was always, hey, we're going to do our best in short order to build a world-class facility that you can have confidence in sending your clients to. Right. Are we where we want to be? Heck no.
You're still growing.
We are very much in a growth cycle. It seems like a never-ending growth cycle, which I guess is not a bad thing per se, but it does have its downfalls. Right. You know, we've branched out. You know, we're doing kit and equipment. We're doing firearms. You know, we've got 2 locations now. Obviously, one is the shooting range with Ridgeline here in Dalton. The other is the manufacturing side in Nashua still. But all of this, it's amazed me. It has absolutely amazed me, the response that we have received from the public. When we launched our calendar this year, in the first week, I sold 40% of my seats for the year.
It's wild.
It blew my mind.
Right.
I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Versus year one, when Alex was teaching 3 people in a class.
Right.
Right. Because nobody knew who we were. I mean, we've never spent any money on marketing.
Right.
You know, we've got a social media presence on Instagram, and that's our marketing. You know, it's, we're still a small business. We're still growing. We got a great core group of guys that I'm incredibly proud of and happy to work with every day. And they give me opportunities to do things that I was never going to do selling hammers. So it's been a wild ride, and I feel like we're still in the early stages of it.
Well, yeah. So for you, having been a part of a corporate structure, and you know, you started already at 15. That company was 15 years old or so when you said you started Home Depot. Was a merchandise-based company, right? And now you're a service-based company. You got to start from the very beginning. Like, it's just a whole new experience for you as a business owner, and getting to experience all of the ebbs and flows. And pretty much every new business owner I talk to has the moment they almost quit, right? Like, there's the moment that it was almost all going away, and then somehow it worked itself out. And that's a perseverance side of things, which goes back to that original conversation we had.
I would say, unfortunately, too many do quit.
Right.
Right. So if you look at the statistics,
if you run out of cash, there's still like reasons that businesses have to quit.
Even when you run out of cash, you can make it work.
I
promise.
Agree. Well, I agree.
So
but
it is.
People stop having the desire to fight.
That's what it is. So that's it right there. Right. And that's what I was going to say is there are all kinds of statistics about how many small businesses fail and what window they fail in. And Alex and I have a firm belief that businesses don't fail, people quit. Yeah. I can give you countless number of times that we should have quit. We should have. The smart decision would have been to quit.
Right.
And we just refused to.
Right. Yeah. Well, and so for the people who don't know, the government training that Team O'Neill does, We want to be a better solution for them, and having a world-class shooting range across the street so they could shoot and drive and do the courses that they need in one location was my vision, right? And so that's what having you guys involved, and the fact of Alex's military background, and then the guys that he has access to for the high quality level training that you guys can provide. Yeah, maybe some of the infrastructure is a little raw still, but at the end of the day, all the students care about is that the instruction is the high quality, and that's something we've never had an issue with. You know, we've always been able to deliver to our clients the level of training that they need at a military level in the real world, where like it's not flat range shooting.
Yeah,
it's dynamic, it's, you know, realistic. It's something that's what we pride ourselves in the driving side. Rally driving is all about real world driving, real world roads, real world cars, and so that's the type of training that we're able to provide them, and you guys are doing that on the shooting side. Yeah,
and it's really interesting transitioning from corporate business to small business. Right. I mean, they are night and day. I shouldn't say that. There are a lot of similarities.
The human element is very
human element is definitely similar, right? But there are a lot of similarities in how you run the business. A lot of the buckets are the same. How you manage them are very different.
Right.
The ebbs and flows you feel at a much greater level than
the ocean's a lot
when you're
smaller.
covered by the big corporate umbrella, right? So, you know, there wasn't a day in Home Depot where I worried about making payroll. Okay. That might have happened a few times at Ridgeline. All right. So, you know, it's very different. And, I will tell you, I spent my first year, Alex jokes with me all the time. His favorite saying for me is, he's like, "You're the worst retired guy in history." And, I told him when I left Depot, I said, "I'm going to take like a year and just do things I like. And then I'll come in and I'll jump in with you on the business." And it was less than 2 weeks later, I called him. I said, "I'm going to rebuild our website, and I'm going to implement a CRM. And I'm going to, you know," and I started down this whole path. And he's like, "How's that year going for you?" You know? So,
this can't wait. This has to happen right now.
Yeah. But while I was, you know, so like all day I was building that stuff, and all night or anytime I was on the road, I was listening to podcasts and I was listening to books that were all about small business, because as much as I know about business, and I give Home Depot so much credit. I mean, they gave a kid who never finished college the ability to run over $6 billion in business and manage vast areas, but they taught me how to do it. Yeah. Right. So it all comes from real world experience, not theory, not text. But I knew I had to dive in and get a better understanding of, how does small business tick? How is it different from big business? Where are the failure points, right? So that I could better understand it and then help communicate with Alex, because all he knew was small business. Right. So I couldn't talk corporate America speak. Right. I had to talk small business speak. Right. And it was a great year of learning for me. And I think it's really helped us kind of refine where we're going and what we're doing.
What do you think is there anything that surprised you the most on the small business side of things versus the big corporate America? Like, what surprised you the most?
The volatility.
Yeah.
The volatility. Big business has volatility, but you don't feel it.
Right.
And it's probably not the right words, but when I say I don't feel it, you don't feel it as the individual. So the average sales associate in a Home Depot store probably doesn't know whether they're positive comping 10% or negative comping 5%. Right. There's no impact. Right. The paycheck still shows up on Friday. Right. I still do the same work that I was doing before. Nothing systematically changes. In small business, that kind of volatility, everybody in your organization feels it. Right. Because all of a sudden you don't have the payroll to go hire the next guy you need. So now you're asking the guys you have to do additional work. So they're feeling it. Yeah. Right. There were times when Alex didn't take a paycheck. Right. Because he's like, "I'm going to make sure my guys get paid, but I can't afford to pay myself today." Right. You know, this week.
Right. Cash flow versus income too. Like,
yeah.
a late vendor for
Yeah.
30 days sucks really bad in a small business.
For sure, right? So all those things, I would say, I don't want to say it like shocked me, but boy, it's an uneasy feeling when you find yourself in those scenarios that I was never in corporate America because I had that big umbrella over me.
Right. Yeah. No, that's cool perspective though, because you've been in both those worlds, right? I don't know a lot of people that I've been able to talk to that has that feeling. Why haven't you quit? Like why has Ridgeline survived? Like what is the driving force for Ridgeline?
So first and foremost, I would say I have a business partner who is a Marine.
Yeah.
Hard-headed, and quit is not in his DNA.
No.
So
death maybe, but quitting not.
Yeah, you can quit after you die. Yeah. That would probably be appropriate, right? So I give him the vast majority of that credit.
Right.
I think secondly, one of the interesting things that came up multiple times when I was either reading or listening, about small business related to your belief in the business. And as a small business owner, if you truly believe, not in a way that's completely unrealistic, right? But if you truly believe in your business model, you will make it work.
Yeah.
You will make it work. It may be clunky. It may be cost burdened, but you will make it work. And what will happen over time is you'll figure out, I've got this extra cost burden that I got to figure out how to carve out. I can streamline this and make it more efficient. But you'll get it to a place where it works if you truly believe in it. I have always believed, and I know Alex certainly does, have always believed in the model. I go back to a comment I made earlier. I remember the early days where Alex was our, he was our CEO, head instructor, janitor, right? I mean, it was Alex, right? And a weekend class, just think about his time. He's teaching 3 people, and we were happy to do it, right? And we were going to give them the best experience because we wanted them to go out and tell 3 people each. And that's how we built the business. But even when it was 3 people, I 100% believed in the model because I said, what we're doing is different. The customer experience is different. The facility is different. Our instruction is different. And when people hear about it, they're going to want to be part of it. And I knew it was just a time factor. And that's why I go back to this last year was like so amazing for me because it was the culmination of that. It's definitely not, it's not the end for us in any way, right?
Sure.
But to go
starting
from
to finally see the light.
Yeah, to go from like, hey, we got 3 people in a class to, wow, we're filling 50% of our class seats to we just opened up on open enrollment and 40% of our seats are gone this week. You just go, wow, we might be onto something. What we believed we could do, what we believed we were going to provide is what people are seeing.
Yeah.
And that's super exciting. I've got classes this year that have wait lists with over 50 people on them.
That's amazing.
And I mean, for us, that's 4 more classes.
Right.
It's crazy to think about.
That's amazing. What would you say is the most proud thing of Ridgeline right now, or that you're most proud of Ridgeline?
It goes right back to my answers earlier. People.
Cool.
People. Without a doubt. Watching. I got to make sure he doesn't listen to this now. Watching Alex, right? Is
if he gets this far in,
that's right. He gets
he can get this little carrot.
Yeah, that's right. We'll give him a little carrot. But no, I'm incredibly proud of him. Very similar story to mine in a different world, right? In a small business world versus a corporate world.
Yeah.
didn't finish his all of his schooling yet. He's been kind of dabbling in that still, but just a self-made guy, right? Who had this idea, has run with it, has been relentless about it.
Yeah.
And then to also just watch him morph as going from the lead instructor guy managing himself to the lead instructor / CEO managing a couple other instructors to now running a company that is, a multi-million-dollar company that's manufacturing things, selling products, providing service. To watch his evolution is really cool.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's our guys, right? And I tell our guys all the time, I think more of them than anybody in the world. And the reason is when I was 18 and I was thinking about going into military service, I had a rational thought.
Don't do it.
The rational thought was, I laid in bed one night. I was approved to go into the military and fly either Apaches or armed Blackhawks. I had done all the packets. I was ready to go. And before I signed the paper, I literally said to them, I'm going to go home and sleep on it.
They're like, oh no.
And I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking, it is going to be so cool. I'm going to fly Apache helicopters. I'm going to blow stuff up. And I went, if I'm trying to blow stuff up, wait, somebody's trying to blow me up. I'm going to go to school. So I tell our guys all the time, like,
you guys are brave.
Yeah. Like, and then they laugh and they tell me, they're like, no, you just don't realize you're giving us too much credit. We just didn't have that thought. but they're incredibly brave individuals who signed up, who, all of our guys have seen combat, right. They're the most incredible people that I know. And all veterans are to me. Yeah. Whether you saw combat or not, you took an oath. You basically signed the line and said, I will give my life for this country.
Yeah.
Not knowing what was in front of you for the next 4, 6, 8 years, whatever that was. That alone, to me, is incredibly brave. So for us to be able to employ an all-veteran staff, I'm the only non-veteran on our entire staff, that's incredibly rewarding. And I think about guys and what would they be doing
right
if they weren't doing this? And they'd all find something.
Sure.
But it wouldn't be their passion.
Yeah.
And we have guys that have such incredible knowledge, have done such amazing things. We have more guys on staff at Ridgeline today that have won or finished in the top 5 of the international sniper competition. It's got to be than any place in the world. They're amazing.
That's awesome.
And I was like, so what happens to all that if they're working at Home Depot? Right? So to me, that's the rewarding part.
Yeah. Giving them an outlet.
Yeah. Knowing them, giving them an opportunity, and being around them.
So we got to work together a few weeks ago. You came and did our tactical driving school, right?
It was awesome.
So I'm wanting to hear your thoughts on driving instruction and business, but overall, how was the experience?
It was awesome. I can't even get enough awesome words out. So I told you this before. I'm not a car guy, right? With all my vices that things that I like to do, I'm not a car guy.
Yeah.
And never before would I think I'd be like, yeah, put me in a car and let me, kind of, drift a little bit around a corner or something. Like, oh yeah, that'd be cool, right?
Sure.
And that was the coolest experience. I'm coming back every year.
Yeah.
I'm bringing friends, so you gain business out of this. Trust me.
I was hoping for.
Yeah, you're like, I was hoping you were going to bring some friends. No, I got some friends lined up. They're coming.
Good.
It was awesome, and the really cool part for me, there were several, but I would say the first one would be getting to know your instructors better and seeing how they teach, how they communicate things. For me, that was cool because I can relate it back to how we do things, right? And there's a lot of similarity that you don't realize until you sit in a car with one of your guys, right? the learning a lot, not fully, but what you are teaching the military and law enforcement guys before you send them across the street to us to add the shooting package in.
Right.
I was like, oh, they learned that. Oh, well, that's cool. Right. And wow, that's okay. Now I understand. And then going back to the instructor piece, there's a lot of language that's similar.
Right.
Your guys use language. I remember, I think it was like day 2, and day 1, I was a complete mess. Right. I was just a total meltdown.
That's a tough, day 1's tough.
Day 1 was tough.
Especially for these 10% guys.
Yeah.
Like 10% confidence, 90%.
I was like, you want me to push the gas and the brake and turn the wheel? I've been doing that my whole life. No problem. Right. So I got this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my wife's like killing it. You know why? Because she's paying attention.
And you got to do the course with your wife, which is cool.
Which was,
we found what you said too about females. Females typically do a lot better job in the school because they'll listen right away.
They listen.
Yeah.
We don't listen.
Right.
So
first day is trying to humble the men and
it was humbling. I went home that night going, I don't think I can drive a car. It's like, I was in a really bad place. But like day 2 is like I finally started to get the hang of it, and the different instructors as we rotate through the cars, I kept getting the reminder of, hey, get your eyes up. You know, look where you're going, not where we're at, because I was doing the classic stare at the corner I'm in, not, get up ahead of me. And as things started to slow down, as you learn, everything starts to slow a little bit and you're actually able to start comprehending.
Right.
Funny story about that. I was sitting in the car with Brent and at the end of day 1, and he's chattering away to me and he's giving me all the right direction. And I literally just said to him while I was mid-driving, stop talking. I go, it's not you, it's me. I go, I can't process anything at this point. My brain had shut down. Right. And I'm at least I'm aware enough to know that at that point, you're just wasting your breath, man. Like I can't process. And I needed the overnight to kind of figure it out. And by Tuesday I was good to go again. But but that day 2 and that afternoon when they were, get your eyes up ahead and look here and look there. And I said, man, this is really valuable, because when we're teaching shooting and transitioning from target to target, we're doing the same thing.
Right.
Trying to get them to move their eyes to the next target, and then the gun follows, right? And so it's the exact same language. And what I have been talking to our guys about is there's multiple things like that I've been sharing with our team to say, look, when we have these MIL and LE crossovers, make sure you're using this language. Make sure you're telling them. You're going to hear the same thing when you go to O'Neill.
Right.
Get your eyes up, look to the next target, right? Things like that, because then it really makes the two experiences feel even more connected for the students, and really drives home the point and allows them to be better at both things when they come to us.
And it's cool that Tactical Driving School is the first product we're offering civilians to experience our military side of our training. So you got to drive with night vision goggles.
Man,
how was that?
Do you know I was faster Thursday night than any other point during the week until Friday?
Really?
I was faster Thursday. You know why? Because you can't see anything that you're going to hit. All you can see is the road in front of you. And so your eyes have to snap to where you are going. Yeah. And you can't see the tree that you're 6 inches away from. So it doesn't bother you all of a sudden, and you go faster. I was faster Thursday night than any time up until that point.
It's cool to drive without seeing your hands too, right? So it's like, that was such a...
Until you hear a scrape down the side of the car. Then you start to get a little nervous, and the instructor goes, no, you're good. Keep going. Okay.
Did that happen?
It might have.
I didn't get that report, so it must not have been bad enough.
It was a rub. It wasn't, nothing big.
That's awesome. So yeah, no, I think that's the product we're offering now for that. You got to also do high center of gravity vehicles, right? And
we did high center. We did all-wheel drive. We did two-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. We did. We were all over the place, right? And I tell you what, talk about messing up your brain. You guys just keep popping us into different types of vehicles, and there's just a little different technique for each one. But man, was that effective in helping us learn how to do it. And that last day, especially the
culmination.
Yeah, man, what a cool experience. I mean, one, you get into a lot more of the tactical stuff on Friday morning, right? So, to be able to go out on the road, although I think for me it may not be good, because if I'm ever in Boston traffic again, I know I'm going to want to pull off a pit maneuver. I just know it. It's going to happen on
now that
128.
you've done a pit
right
maneuver.
now that I've done it, right?
Right.
I'm like, oh, this is so easy. I can do this, right? So, you're learning things like that, the reverse J turns, all that stuff, and it was just it was cool
James
John Wick
Bond.
stuff, man.
Yeah,
I
John
was like,
Wick, James
I was like,
Bond.
this is cool, right? But to culminate on Friday, where you're driving a big chunk of the track,
Right.
and the instructors are like, hey, we're gonna take this first lap and just want you to kind of feel it out, and then after that, they're like, let's let it rip,
Right.
and I remember my brain, I was coming down a hill, my brain thinking, you are going way too fast right now, but I feel fully in control, so keep doing it.
That's awesome.
They had gotten me to that level, and it felt really awesome when I left Friday.
So in your experience with firearms, the eyes, that's what we see a lot, is the eye crossover from driving and the shooting training. Was there any other crossover that you saw from training that we do and training that you experienced with firearms?
I would say repetition is key, right? So one iteration, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, there's only so many iterations you can have at a school, any school,
Right.
whether it's driving, whether it's shooting. We talk about it all the time. I'm not going to make you a world-class shooter over Saturday and Sunday,
Right.
right? But I'll give you the tools that if you go back and you practice them on your own,
Right.
you could become a world-class shooter.
Right.
Your guys talk about the same thing.
Right.
Like, hey, I know
Using
it's weird.
left foot braking in the real
They're like,
world.
hey, when you're driving around town, Paul, left foot brake.
Right.
You can still do that.
Keep your eyes up. Think about.
That's right. I find myself now, my eyes are going further down the road than they used to. I find that I just take little stints, especially on the dirt roads, and go left foot brake, right?
It's good. It's a depreciating skill if you don't.
Yeah. And so those are a lot of the similarities that I saw. The instruction is very, very similar.
That's cool. Me too. And I did get the opportunity to take quite a bit of training when we started partnering, and I just saw so many similarities. So it's definitely cool to allow a client to go do both worlds in the same location effectively, and get to hear a lot of the same cadence and messaging, and it's just, you can work on all those things
Without doubt.
regardless of if you're shooting or driving or mountain biking or skiing, or like there's just so many physical activities that are very similar.
Yep.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Is there anything else that you hope we wish we would have talked about that we didn't touch on?
I mean, I think you just peeled apart my life. No, I mean, look, I appreciate the opportunity to come in and chat with you, and it's been an amazing ride. I'm so appreciative of the 30 years that I did with Home Depot. I still love the organization, and most of all, like I said before, I love the people in it, and but it's been equally amazing these last 3 years being out.
Yeah.
And much smaller scale, much smaller team, but same principles,
right?
Especially around people.
Yeah.
And it's just been an honor and a privilege to be a part of that as well. And looking forward to at least a few more years before I maybe really retire.
Nice. What if people want to connect with you or follow up with you directly? How's the best way for them to connect with you?
Probably email.
Okay.
p.deveno, Deveno @ridgelinedefense.com.
Okay.
That's usually the best way to get a hold of me. I still have a corporate brain, so I answer at 11 p.m. and 6 in the morning. And
ridgelinedefense.com is the website for if they want to book a
ridgelinedefense.com. Yep. And we're working hard to try and release the 2025 schedule because 2024 is pretty much sold out. There's a seat here and there, but
nice,
not many. So we're going to try and get out the 2025 schedule early this year because everybody's asking us for it.
And you guys have a gun coming out?
So we have one out.
Okay.
Yeah. So our RD-15 LPR, our light precision rifle, is out.
Okay.
Everybody who has touched this thing, I mean,
I've seen amazing reviews.
Yeah, I feel like, no matter what I say, it's like, well, you make it, so you're going to say this. But I got to tell you, everybody who has touched this thing is just raving about it. Yeah. And the group sizes it's putting up are really better than anything in the industry when you talk about 5.56 guns. And we, things that I can't talk about, there are some really important groups that are looking at this gun because of its performance. And that to me is amazing at this stage in its life as it was just released.
Right. Yeah. No, you guys are doing amazing stuff. So look forward to watching your experience grow, and we will be working a lot more together. So
absolutely.
Maybe
Thanks,
we'll have
Chris.
you on again in a few years, and we'll see where else you've gone.
At that point, I'll just talk about fishing and hunting, I hope. But,
Thank
we'll
you
see.
so much.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.